tell you, it never fails when, you know, I want to record. Somebody's going to do yard work. I might need to start doing videos late at night. So the 05 Odyssey, where I did the VCM a while ago, I did a couple videos on this because I think it had a couple different issues with it. This had its own unique issue with the VCM issue with the varying cylinder management system. That's what VCM, that's the acronym. This had its own video. I did it a while ago. It's still successfully fixed. Unfortunately, my repair has an oil leak because I didn't put a gasket on it, because I couldn't find a gasket set for it. But O'Reilly's managed to have one in stock, and I was able to give them this part number that I found on Rock Auto, and it was 917-268. So lucky me, she was complaining about her oil leak, and luckily they actually, for like the most rare cases ever, they actually had a part in stock. So here's the two gaskets here, and we're going to get to work replacing those gaskets, because what I did, I used the RTV sealant, and unfortunately the gray glue didn't quite hold up over time. So I'm going to jump into replacing this. We're also going to go over some data, because I'm just going to briefly talk about how the varying cylinder management system operates later. But I'm just going to go ahead and work into it, because, you know, if you subscribe, you know I'm a chatterbox. But first, we're going to work on getting the airbox out. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to record, and I'm in need of space. I'm going to remove this map sensor here. This is an 8mm hose clamp. Got that loose. And then you have 8mm here on the airbox down here that you have to remove. And you can simply just lift up on the airbox to expose your filter element. And then just simply take some pliers to remove that breather there. This van actually got some common issues, such as the air-fuel ratio sensor. I mean, I had to replace this intake tube. It does need motor mounts. Just stereotypical things. I'm gonna take a look at this filter needs to be replaced. It's gonna need a tune-up later too in the future. So I got some room down here. Hope I can get that camera in there. Alright, so here's our varying cylinder management here. I took the breather off to get a little bit more room, which would normally sit here, but that's irrelevant right now. So what we're going to do, we have our actuating solenoid here that allows this unit to relieve the pressure in the rocker arms to deactivate the system. And then we have this here, is the oil pressure switch, which is going to be the actual sensor, not a switch, because no on and off. It's the actual sensor that monitors the actual pressure. So more like it's a pressure transducer. And we got an evap, it's like a filter here. If I can just something I can pull down. We got the 3 fasteners holding the assembly to the cylinder head, which is here, here, and here. There. Then we can simply detach it from the cylinder head itself. They're going to be 10mm fasteners. Put them jokers on there tight. Damn it. Alright, this should make a mess, but I got brake cleaner. Alright, the VCM unit is out of the engine, and this is what I got. This is what happened once I put glue in there. I didn't clog the screen up or anything. I put a light film on it, very light, but you can see how flat it is. So we're gonna what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna disassemble just the housings only, because where it was leaking from was right here. And it'll sit, because it sits like this, like you'll be facing it in the engine, so you'll be looking back at it if you're standing where we're standing at the radiator. It's leaking between the cracks here. So that's the main gasket I'm going to replace, and of course we're going to replace the main one here. So the sandwich gasket and then the main one. So let's get that started right now. I'm going to take my impact gun. Uh-oh, I'm screwing up life. There we go. Let's see, are they all the same length? Nope. Nope. So 2 of them are the same length, one is shorter. Shorter one goes here in the back. Just give you a reference. You can't really screw it up, so if I took that shorter one out, put the long one there, it just ain't gonna look right. If I put a short one in here, yeah, it could work, but it's not appropriate. It needs to go all the way through that housing. Alright, let's separate this. I think there was a dial in here or something. Oh, there you go. I think I was pulling the wrong thing. I swear it had a dial in here. Let's go through here. Yeah, it does. And I think a plunger. No. Okay, guess I was wrong. Okay, so there's a dial there, and there's another one. So it does have that, make it a little difficult to separate. So here's the remnants of me putting sealant in there, and like I said, I put extremely light film in there and didn't cake up anything. It did what it was supposed to do. But you can see how flat this gasket is. It is like no protrusion whatsoever. Alright, pull this out. I'm gonna clean this up really good too. But yeah, she was flat. Flat like some of them gals. Oops. Alright, we're gonna pull this out. Here's our strainer. And I cleaned it out before, but it ain't really that bad. So we're gonna ditch these. They're not brittle. It's just flat. You know, they don't break. But I'm glad we got them. So now we know. Let me get these cleaned up and let's get this back assembled. Alright, I got everything cleaned up here, but I want to take a quick second to go over briefly what goes on if you was to look at the data. Just some technical stuff here when diagnosing. So here is the PCM. We're in the engine. I did access just the rocker arm oil solenoid because that's what it is. It deactivate the rocker arm assembly in the front bank, because that's bank 1 on the rear. So we got rocker arm oil control solenoid, bank 1. That's off. That's the current state when the engine is running. We have the rocker arm oil pressure sensor. That's the voltage. And then we have a PCM interpretation from the voltage to a PCI value. So while normally driving, this is normal operating temperature here. We have a 23 psi of oil pressure. There's our value. And once you reach a certain speed under necessary conditions, this oil control solenoid is going to go into an on state. And this is what happens in a working system when you go to an on state. So we have our oil control solenoid is on. We have our value that drop and is supposed to reduce the oil pressure and bleed off to a 0 psi, but nothing's perfect. This is close as it's supposed to be to 0 psi, and it's not above the threshold to where it will trigger a code. So if it sees too much oil pressure, it's going to think the system isn't working efficiently, and it's going to trigger a code. But what happens, the oil pressure sensor is a common thing to go out on this vehicle because it can read the static pressure as incorrect. So when it starts up, it's going to be reading higher than normal, or it can just be out of calibration internally to where it's just not going to read appropriately once it reaches a certain threshold. Sensors go out in various ways. It's just a potentiometer. You have the solenoid here that can go out. This is a very simple circuit. It's just an on and off solenoid. It just basically diverts the oil pressure from one spot to another. We have inside of here the valve body. We got the valve body. I didn't want to go too crazy in depth with this because, man, I will confuse myself and the people are like, what the hell are you talking about? So I will get all types of blabbling. But basically, you got a valve body here that consists of the valve itself inside of here, and the pressure solenoid has a channel through one of these ports. So when the valve does get active, this is the active state here, it closes off the port that goes to the pressure switch, and that's what causes us to get that reduced value. So it's a possibility sometimes, and I guess in extremely rare cases, you know, you could have issues with the valve body. So when you have this out, you know, just lift the valve body up and make sure it goes down and retracts back to its closed position. But like I said, the most common thing is the oil pressure switch. It gets out of tolerance. The solenoid can go bad. We could do a resistance value. It's rare that these are even reliable. But you can just simply add 12 volts in the back here and see if it makes any audible noise. You know. Well, let's go ahead and get the gaskets. All right. Again, here's the part number, 917-268. Take these, get that out of the way. We're going to put our new one. We're going to do what we did in elementary school and match this up. And we're going to put those together. Look how it sits out so much better. Got like a millimeter of protrusion. And we're going to simply put these back together. We have our screws. Scratch right there, but it's not a crack, it's a scratch. I'll make sure they're the right length. So again, if I can't put that right there, so that's where the shorter one goes. 2 long ones and 1 short one. the new strainer on the main side here. We're ready to get it back installed. All right, let's see if we can get this in here. Let's see if we can get this in here without dropping anything. So before it would just leak just consistently in that little crevice right there I was referring to, but it's fine now. And so this repair is verified. I'm just glad we actually was able to get the part. And sometimes you gotta use your own resources. Rock Auto is really good for cross-referencing part numbers, especially because you can find a lot of dormant parts on there. And since I frequently patronize O'Reilly's to get patronized, they are able to look it up because they're not mechanics, and we got to do our part as far as doing our investigation, our research, to be able to help them out as much as we can. And that's why my parts still love me to death, because I'm generally a step ahead, a couple steps. So I've done my investigating, I've cross-referenced the part numbers, and especially when I was calling to see if they had something in stock and they don't have it. So luckily I was able to find it, and I guess they couldn't look it up under the probably what they consider a spool valve, or either the VTEC solenoid or various cylinder management solenoid. I don't know, it's 1,000 different names people will call this device here, but for the purpose it serves, it varies cylinder management. But also the rocker arms, you know. So it could be variable valve timing because it does work with the rocker arms. I mean, in a way. So I don't, you know, people got their own names for it, but this is technically considered the VCM. So I guess that's why they couldn't find the part that I needed when I called originally. But we got it now. It's fixed. No more issues. I do have another oil leak I need to replace. This is very common on this vehicle, which is the oil filter housing. I do have that gasket over there, and I'm not going to document that because I do have videos online in regards to a full successful repair from start to finish. It's very simple and easy with good close-up views just like this one. But other than that, man, we'll see what happens with this vehicle. Everything's pretty much knocked out. She's good to go. I'm going to continue on with my repairs because I got a lot of other things I got to check on this vehicle. And, of course, the most other common thing is the oxygen sensor. The aspect ratio sensor sucks on here, so I actually got to replace that front one. But, you know, this car has common issues. This is not my favorite engine transmission package, but, you know, I like Hondas. So it comes with territory. Personally, my favorite engine is going to be the K-Series because of the hassle-free drivability it has. So you just change the oil. You don't have to worry about timing chain. You do have some issues, but as long as you keep the oil change in those engines, you're fine. You know, the valve cover leaks, but that engine is put together with the Honda bond. So you don't have to worry about a lot of orifices leaking, such as these with the valve covers, the solenoids. Well, I'll just blame that on me. The oil filter housing. You know, the less rubber we got, the better we are with addressing oil issues, leaks. That's why GM sucks. GM is horrible. But anyway, I digress. We'll see how this car works out in the future. I'm going to get this working because hopefully I can get everything knocked out in another 3 hours or so. But hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, have that reassurance of my work. See you on the next one.